You know that feeling when you're putting in the work with English, studying the grammar, building your vocabulary, but it still feels like you're just, well, stuck. Like you've hit this invisible wall and progress has slowed right down. It's super common, that feeling.
Oh, absolutely. So many learners feel that way. You want to connect, express yourself fluently, but something just feels like it's holding you back. It can be really frustrating.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's precisely what we're going to unpack in this deep dive. We've gathered a really diverse set of insights today, everything from practical learning hacks to understanding everyday conversations and even a little peek into 90s culture.
Right. And it's all geared toward one core goal, isn't it?
It is.
Our aim today is really to distill all this information into concrete, actionable steps that you can take like right away. We want to move beyond simply understanding about English
Right.
and help you truly internalize it so
Yeah.
it becomes a natural, confident way for you to communicate. We're aiming for that point where you don't just know the rules, you actually use the language instinctively.
Because if you're tuning in, you're likely someone who's motivated, you know? You're putting in the effort, but maybe feeling a bit overwhelmed by just how much stuff is out there.
Totally understandable.
You're looking for those key insights, those aha moments that help things click. And that's what this deep dive is all about. We've sifted through a range of resources, learning techniques, conversation strategies, cultural context to bring you the most valuable, most immediately applicable nuggets.
Think of it as your shortcut to, well, maybe not a shortcut, but a more focused path to progress.
Yeah, exactly. We'll guide you through what really matters and how you can start using it. So, ready to dig in?
Absolutely. Let's start with what is often a major hurdle for so many learners, that ingrained habit of mental translation.
Ah, yes, that internal back and forth. It feels almost automatic, doesn't it? Your brain just wants to link that new English word straight back to your native language. But it's like adding an extra step to every single thought, every sentence. It really bogs things down when you're trying to speak or even just understand quickly.
Precisely. It creates a bottleneck in your cognitive process. And the first tip from our source offers a surprisingly simple, yet really effective way to start dismantling this habit.
Okay, what is it?
Directly associating the objects around you with their English names.
Yeah.
So instead of looking at your computer, thinking the word in your native language, and then translating it,
Right.
you train yourself to just think computer immediately.
Ah, okay. So you see a lamp, you think lamp. You see your keyboard, water bottle, not whatever the word is in your first language.
Exactly.
It's about creating that immediate connection. Visual cue, straight to the English word, bypassing that translation step. I can see how that would help build that direct link in your brain, almost like creating a mental map where English words are plugged right into the things around you.
That's a great way to put it. A mental map. You're essentially retraining your neural pathways, forging a new, more direct link. It might seem small, but it's foundational. It's the first step towards actually thinking in English.
Which is the goal, right, for fluency. When you can start thinking directly in English, that feels like a real breakthrough. You're not constantly filtering everything through your native language anymore. Okay, so direct association with surroundings. What's next for breaking the translation habit?
The second tip builds on developing a more intuitive feel for the language, especially its sound and rhythm. It's all about active imitation.
Imitation, like mimicking.
Exactly. Our source really emphasizes repeating phrases and sentences you hear native speakers use, from videos, TV shows, podcasts, whatever. The focus isn't just on understanding the meaning,
Okay.
but on physically producing the sounds yourself, copying the sound, the rhythm, the pronunciation, the intonate, the whole music of the language, really.
Right, getting your mouth actually used to forming those new shapes, those sounds, the specific rhythm of English, the way the intonation goes up and down. The source even says, get the mouth used to saying the words. It really highlights that physical aspect. It's almost like developing a new kind of muscle memory for your mouth and vocal cords.
That's a perfect analogy, muscle memory, for your articulators. And it's not just single words. It's how words flow together naturally. You start to absorb how sounds link and blend.
Yeah, the way native speakers often seem to run words together sometimes.
Exactly. And the key here isn't striving for perfection right away. Don't worry about sounding exactly like a native speaker on day one. It's about getting comfortable with the mechanics, the feel of it.
So just practice saying the phrases out loud, even if it feels a bit awkward at first.
Precisely. You could even try repeating some of the phrases we're using right now, just to notice how it feels.
Interesting idea. Makes you more aware. Okay, so we have direct association, then active imitation. What about actually like surrounding yourself with the language? Immersion.
Exactly. Tip number 3 tackles the power of immersion, or, as our source calls it, creating mini immersion experiences. Because let's face it, full immersion like moving to an English-speaking country.
Yeah, that's a huge step. Not always practical for everyone.
Right. It requires a massive life change. But the principle behind it, being surrounded by the language, is incredibly powerful.
Definitely.
And the source acknowledges this. It suggests you can create smaller, more manageable zones or periods where you actively minimize relying on your native language. They share an anecdote about a learner in Japan
Oh, yeah.
who joined a hobby group where only Japanese was spoken. It just forced them to communicate in the target language. No safety net.
That element of necessity. That seems absolutely crucial when you have to communicate in English to participate or get something done, and you can't just easily switch back. Your brain really kicks into a higher gear, doesn't it? It forces you to be more resourceful with the English you already know.
That's it. You start developing strategies to work around vocabulary gaps, like circumlocution, describing what you mean when you don't have the exact word.
All right, talking around the word.
Exactly. It might feel uncomfortable at first, not having that familiar linguistic crutch. But that discomfort zone, that's precisely where significant language growth happens. It's like learning to ride a bike. You got to take off the training wheels eventually.
Makes sense. Okay, moving on. Let's talk about how we consume English media. TV shows, movies, that kind of thing.
Yes. Tip number 4 offers some really insightful advice here. Being strategic with subtitles.
Okay. And the initial advice might seem a bit counterintuitive. Try watching without subtitles in your native language.
Right. The reasoning is that it forces you, the learner, to rely on a wider range of cues. You start paying more attention to body language, the visual context, the tone of voice.
And crucially, the actual sounds of the spoken English.
Exactly. You're forced to listen more actively, not just passively read a translation.
That makes sense. You can't just tune out the audio. But the source also talks about another step, which I found really useful. Rewatching, but this time with English closed captions.
Ah, yes. So you see the English words on screen as you hear them? What's the benefit there?
Well, it directly connects the sounds you're hearing with their written form, which is huge, right? It reinforces vocabulary, helps with spelling, and you might even start noticing grammatical patterns or common phrases, collocations, just by seeing them repeatedly.
Okay, so it bridges that gap between sound and text.
Yeah. The source mentioned that Japanese learner, again, using visual reinforcement, so the strategy is kind of progressive. Maybe first watch with native language subtitles just to get the plot.
If you need to, yeah.
Then rewatch with English subtitles to link sound and spelling. And then the final step, challenge yourself. Watch with no subtitles at all to really hone your listening comprehension. Rely on your ears, the visuals, the context.
That's a very smart, scaffolded approach. Using subtitles as a learning tool, not just a crutch, and then gradually weaning yourself off them. Got it. Okay, now let's talk dictionaries. Almost every learner uses one. But tip 5 has some potentially controversial advice.
Uh-oh.
Try not to have a dictionary glued to your side, especially during conversation practice.
Right. Why? It seems counterintuitive. If you hit a word you don't know, isn't looking it up the obvious thing to do?
Well, the core reason is flow. It completely disrupts the natural flow of a conversation.
Right.
Imagine you're talking, you hit a word you don't know, and boom, everything stops while you look it up.
Yeah, the rhythm just dies. It breaks the spontaneity, makes the whole interaction feel really unnatural, kind of stilted.
Exactly. Our source uses a great example. Imagine opening a bank account. Could you realistically stop the clerk every minute to look up interest rate or withdrawal?
Huh. No, that would be incredibly awkward and inefficient. It just doesn't reflect how real conversations work.
Precisely. So if you shouldn't reach for the dictionary mid-conversation, what's the alternative?
Good question.
The key is developing other strategies. Try describing the word you don't know using the English you do have. Or simply ask your conversation partner, what's the word for? Or how do you say?
Ah, okay. So it's about developing resourcefulness in the moment rather than relying on an external tool.
Yes. And bonus. When someone explains a word to you in context, you often remember it much better because of that interaction. It sticks more.
That's true. It becomes more meaningful. Okay, resourcefulness over dictionaries and conversation. Got it. Let's move on to enhancing conversational fluency, like the speed and naturalness of your responses.
Yes. Tip number 6. focuses on training automatic responses to common questions, starting with the classic, "How are you?"
It seems so simple, right? But having a few natural, quick replies ready makes a huge difference. If you have to pause and mentally construct "I am fine, thank you," and "you," every single time.
It sounds hesitant, doesn't it? That brief pause while you translate or formulate can create a slightly stilted feeling right at the start.
Yeah.
Having a few quick, natural responses, "Pretty good, thanks. Doing well. How about you? Not bad. How's your day going?"
Yeah.
lets you navigate those opening pleasantries smoothly.
It's like having conversational autopilot for the first few seconds,
Exactly.
which frees up your mental energy, your brain power for the more substantive stuff that comes next.
Precisely. Okay, what about the materials we use for studying? Textbooks, apps, websites. Tip 7 advises being mindful of whether they rely heavily on translation into your native language.
Ah, interesting. So the recommendation is?
Ideally, use study materials where explanations, definitions, instructions, everything is primarily, if not entirely, in English. Even simplified English is better than constant translation,
Why is that so important?
because it consistently forces you to engage with the language on its own terms. You're not constantly flipping that mental switch back and forth between English and your native tongue. It reinforces that crucial goal, thinking in English.
Okay, so using graded readers, maybe, or worksheets with simple English instructions or apps that define words in English.
Exactly. The important caveat, of course, is finding materials at the right level. Challenging enough to learn, but not so overwhelming that you just get frustrated and give up.
Right, that sweet spot. Makes perfect sense. You're basically creating an English-only bubble around your learning. Okay, now, how we learn new words. Vocabulary. Tip 8 emphasizes studying phrases, chunks of language, not just isolated words. Why is that so much better?
Because language rarely operates word by word in isolation. Words take on different meanings, different nuances, depending on the other words they hang out with, the context of the phrase.
Right.
Our source uses the perfect example. Crazy. Think about it. Crazy busy. Crazy about you. Driving me crazy.
Totally different meanings. Just knowing the dictionary definition of crazy doesn't really help you use it naturally in those contexts.
Exactly. Learning the whole chunk, crazy busy as a unit meaning extremely occupied, gives you a much richer understanding of meaning and usage.
So learn drive someone crazy as a complete phrase for annoyance.
Precisely. It gives you a holistic grasp of how words function in real communication, including common collocations, those natural word pairings native speakers use without even thinking. This approach really accelerates your ability to sound more natural.
Okay, phrases over single words. Got it. Tip 9 shifts focus to integrating English more actively into our everyday lives.
Yes. The advice here is to consciously try and do daily activities in English, or at least think about them in English. Mentally narrate your day.
Like, okay, I'm making coffee now, I need to check my emails, I'm going for a walk, that sort of thing.
Exactly. And as you do this, you'll inevitably hit gaps in your vocabulary. You'll realize, I don't know the English word for this kitchen gadget, or what's the verb for what I'm doing right now?
Ah, so it helps you identify the vocabulary that's actually relevant to your daily life. Makes learning more personalized and immediately useful.
Precisely. It turns those mundane moments into mini language lessons. Learning in contexts like that really helps with retention too.
I like that, turning everyday routines into learning opportunities. Okay, and the final tip in this section, number 10, is about the type of dictionary to use when you do need one.
Yes. When you need to look up a word, the recommendation is to prioritize using a learner's dictionary, like the Merriam-Webster's Learner's Dictionary or the Oxford Learner's Dictionary mentioned in our source.
What's the difference between a learner's dictionary and a regular one?
The key difference is that learner's dictionaries define words using simpler, more controlled English vocabulary, words that learners are more likely to already know or understand easily.
Ah, so instead of getting a complex definition with even more unfamiliar words,
Right.
you're understanding the new word within the framework of English itself. You're not constantly jumping out of English, translating, and jumping back in.
Exactly. It keeps you thinking in English. Plus, they usually have tons of example sentences showing how the word is actually used in context, which is incredibly valuable for understanding practical application.
Okay, that's super helpful. Learner's dictionaries, got it. Wow, that's a really comprehensive set of strategies just for breaking that translation habit and building a more direct connection with English.
It really lays the foundation. Now let's move on to something more social. Mastering greetings. Even just saying hello has its nuances, right?
Absolutely. You'd think hello is simple, but our source points out there are lots of ways to greet people. It depends on formality, context, even the time of day.
Let's start with the more formal ones. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening.
Right. And you got to get the time right. Saying good morning at 6 p.m. would sound pretty odd.
Very odd indeed. So those are time-specific, generally polite. Then you have the all-rounders, hello and hi.
Yeah, you can pretty much use those anytime, anywhere, right? Friendly, approachable, safe bets.
Definitely. What about when you bump into someone you haven't seen for ages?
Ah, okay. Then you might use something like long time no see, or maybe, hey, have you been?
Right. The key is acknowledging that gap in time. You wouldn't say long time no see to someone you saw yesterday. And how have you been uses that present perfect tense, covering the time from the past until now. It invites them to catch up.
Gotcha. It acknowledges the absence. Okay, moving to more standard, maybe slightly more informal greetings. How are you? Very common.
Super common. And then there's how's it going, which our source notes is a bit more casual.
So how's it going? Might be better with friends or colleagues you know well. Less formal than how are you?
Generally, yes. It carries a more relaxed tone. Then you have what's up, which is definitely very informal, often used among younger people or close friends. Maybe not the best choice for your boss's boss.
Probably not. Okay, and what about meeting someone for the very first time?
The standard polite greeting there is, it's nice to meet you.
Right.
And our source also mentions this is often accompanied by a handshake in many Western cultures, or maybe just a nod.
That's a good point about the nonverbal cues that go along with it. So
Yeah.
the big takeaway here is context is king.
Absolutely. Who are you talking to?
Yeah.
Friend, boss, stranger? What's the situation? Your choice of greeting should reflect that. Paying attention to these social cues is a key part of communicating effectively. Even saying hello has these layers.
Definitely more to it than you might think at first. Okay, so now let's see some of this English in action. Our source has some great little snippets of real-world scenarios, right? Focusing on travel and academic life.
Yes, these are fantastic because they show language in use. Bridging that gap between learning rules and actually using English to get things done.
Okay, first up, travel. Understanding a flight itinerary that says, like, 25 cities in 30 days. Whoa, that tells you immediately it's a whirlwind trip, right?
Intense. Yeah, you need to process that numerical info quickly.
Then ordering room service, being specific. Turkey sandwich on a Parmesan bagel, Diet Coke. You need to articulate exactly what you want.
Can't be vague there.
And requesting a wake-up call. 7 a.m. Simple but crucial. And the hotel staff confirming. Name, room number, Mrs. Rawson, 417. Basic but essential travel interactions.
Absolutely. Then another hotel scenario, more focused on the check-in process, confirming a reservation, Melissa West.
Yeah.
Showing ID card or passport.
Standard procedure.
And understanding hotel policies, like checkout time, noon to 2 p.m. standard. But maybe there's a free extension. But watch out for that late charge 5% after the extension.
Ooh, important details. You need to catch those to avoid extra fees or misunderstandings. Okay, let's switch to academic life. Students talking about majors. Education versus English. And maybe finding common ground. Oh, Oksana is also an English major. We should study together.
Yeah, very typical casual student chat.
Yeah.
Then there's a scenario involving a missed study date.
Happens all the time. Someone's late, apologizing, sorry I'm late, giving a reason. Was talking to my professor about getting an extension, plus I still have that midterm coming up.
Very relatable student stress.
Totally. And then rescheduling. Okay, see you later. See ya. Just casual ways to say goodbye and plan for next time. Shows how you navigate those little schedule bumps.
Right. And lastly, in the academic context, someone asking for help.
Like a trade.
Exactly. One student's struggling with a paper and suggests, hey, I'll help you study for your history test if you help me with this paper. It shows that dynamic of collaboration, asking for help, offering something in return. Very common in university.
Yeah, these little dialogues are super useful for seeing how phrases fit together, the natural flow. Okay, now let's delve into something a bit different. Informal language, slang, mild curse words. Our source touches on this.
Right. And this is an area where we need to be really clear. The goal here is primarily comprehension, not necessarily active usage, especially for learners.
Absolutely. Understanding this stuff is important because you'll hear it in movies, TV, maybe even casual conversation. But using it yourself, you need a very, very good feel for the context, the relationship, the potential impact. When in doubt.
Don't use it. Err on the side of caution.
Definitely. Okay, with that big caveat, let's look at the word piss.
In the idiom, don't piss your pants, it means extreme anxiety or fear. It's like, I was so nervous I almost pissed my pants. It's obviously not literal.
Right, metaphorical. And pissed off.
A very common informal way to say angry or annoyed. He was really pissed off about the delay.
Okay, then the term loser. Our source calls it high school slang for someone uncool or unsuccessful.
Yeah, it definitely carries a negative judgment. Not something you'd usually say in polite company.
Yeah.
Very context dependent.
Gotcha. Idiot is mentioned as a mild insult. Still an insult, though. Implies foolishness or lack of intelligence. Even mild ones need caution.
Always. Shoot is described as a softer alternative to a stronger swear word. For frustration, or when something goes wrong.
Like, oh shoot, I forgot my keys, expresses mild annoyance without being offensive.
Exactly. Now, shut up. This one is tricky. It depends entirely on the tone.
How so?
It can be a really rude command. Shut up, I'm trying to think. Or, said with surprise or disbelief, it can mean no way, or really, like, you won the lottery, shut up.
Wow, okay, tone is absolute critical there. Got it.
Yeah.
Ticked off.
Another way to say angry or annoyed maybe sounds a little dated compared to pissed off, but people still use it. She was ticked off that he was late.
Okay.
Used to describe someone acting silly, not taking things seriously. Stop acting like a fool implies foolish behavior.
And jerk.
A mild insult for someone mean, inconsiderate, rude, or selfish. He cut me off in traffic, what a jerk. Fairly common, not extremely harsh, but still negative.
Right. And finally, wimp.
Describe someone not strong or brave, lacking courage or toughness. Our source mentions Diary of a Wimpy Kid, which is a great cultural reference point for that meaning.
Okay. So again, the main point here is understand these if you hear them, especially in media, but be super careful about using them yourself. Know your audience, know the context.
Precisely. It's about passive understanding, mostly. Okay, let's switch gears to something much more practical and universally useful. Asking for and giving directions.
Yes, this is fundamental. Being able to ask for and understand directions confidently is key to feeling independent and comfortable navigating an English-speaking place.
Totally. Our source gives lots of helpful phrases for asking. Basic ones like, where's the train station? Or how do I get to the museum?
And starting politely is always good. Excuse me, do you know where the light is?
Yes. Excuse me is essential. And simple questions about distance. Is the library near here, or is the post office far from here? Really useful for getting your bearings.
Okay, and for giving directions.
Key directional phrases. Turn left, turn right. You might need to specify when. Turn left at the next corner, or turn right after the bank.
Straightforward enough.
Then go straight, maybe for how long? Go straight for about 2 blocks. Also, go past a landmark, like go past the supermarket and it's on your left.
Using landmarks is helpful.
Very helpful. And locating something relative to other things. It's at the corner of Main Street and Elm Avenue. We're using prepositions of place. It's in front of the park. It's behind the library. It's next to the coffee shop. It's between the bookstore and the pharmacy.
Okay, clear landmarks, clear language. Seems crucial for both asking and giving directions effectively. Definitely need to know those basics.
Absolutely. Okay, next up, another very common part of everyday communication. Making complaints.
Ah, yes. It's a universal human need sometimes, isn't it? Knowing how to express dissatisfaction appropriately in English is an important skill.
It really is. Our source lists a range of common ones, starting with hunger, maybe exaggerated. I'm starving.
Yeah, common hyperbole just means I'm very hungry. What about noise?
It's noisy. Simple. Direct. Commenting on excessive sound.
Temperature.
It's too hot. It's too cold.
Yeah.
These often imply you want something to change, right?
Usually, yeah. Like, it's too cold in here. Can we turn up the heat? It often leads to a request.
Exactly. Cost. It's too expensive.
Yeah.
Though saying this directly to a seller needs care with tone and context. It generally just means the price is higher than expected or affordable.
Right. Tiredness.
I'm tired. Pretty straightforward. Indicates a need for rest. Universal feeling.
Definitely. What about weight?
I gained weight. Our source presents this as a kind of self-criticism, often shared with friends or family.
Okay. Finances.
I'm always broke. Often lighthearted exaggeration, meaning you don't have much money at the moment.
Work boredom.
My job is boring. Expressing lack of interest or stimulation. A common sentiment sometimes.
Unpleasant smells.
The person stinks. Very direct, potentially rude, usually not said openly about someone present.
Good point. Traffic.
There's too much traffic. The classic commuter complaint, especially during rush hour.
Modern life complaints.
The Wi-Fi here is too slow. A very 21st century frustration.
Ah, yes. Issues with the boss.
My boss is annoying. Another common work-related complaint about a supervisor.
Pay dissatisfaction.
The pay is too low. Frequent complaint about salary.
And the general catch-all?
I don't like it. Incredibly versatile. Applies to almost anything unsatisfactory.
Okay, so understanding these helps you express yourself, but also helps you understand when others are complaining, which is important for empathy and responding appropriately.
Exactly. Okay, let's shift gears again. Back to practical skills. Understanding written information in everyday settings, specifically at a train station. Reading signs, schedules, tickets, essential for public transport.
Totally essential. Our source gives examples, like understanding a customer code sent via text message, or figuring out your train ticket. Car 1, row 8, seat C, gotta find your spot.
Yep. Using a ticket machine, maybe a specific button, bottom left, is for express tickets. You need to be able to read those labels. Reading the platform display, the next train will not stop at Oxford. Crucial info. Don't want to get on the wrong train or miss your stop.
Definitely not. Checking printed schedules. No express trains will run on public holidays and the third Sunday of each month. Paying attention to those footnotes is important for planning.
Absolutely. And just navigating the station itself by following signs. Taxi stop, east exit. It's all about efficiently pulling key info from written text in these real-world situations. Vital for independent travel and daily life.
Couldn't agree more. Okay, now for something completely different. A little nostalgic trip, perhaps. Things that were cool in the 1990s.
Yes, a cultural detour. This can be fun context, help you understand references in older media or conversations with people who grew up then.
Okay, where do we start? Pop culture. Boy bands.
Remember those?
Yeah.
Our source notes, they might have been seen as a bit uncool by some at the time, but then had a resurgence later, like with One Direction. Shows how trends cycle.
True. Kids TV. Doug on Nickelodeon.
Oh yeah, Doug. Relatable character, often positive messages. A real touchstone for 90s kids. Gives you insight into popular programming back then.
And sitcoms like Full House and Step by Step. Family-oriented, often with a moral lesson, usually wrapped up with some upbeat music. Very distinct 90s style.
Definitely. Okay, fashion and aesthetics. Lisa Frank.
Oh, the explosion of color. Bright folders, pencils, stickers, unicorns, dolphins, super popular, instantly recognizable, especially for young girls.
Totally iconic. Then the whole grunge movement, bands like Nirvana, Pearl Jam coming out of Seattle, big shift from 80s glam.
Right. The fashion. Ripped jeans, plaid shirts, sort of anti-fashion fashion, defined a big part of the decade, and scrunchies.
Can't forget scrunchies, those fabric hair ties. Quintessential 90s accessory.
For sure. Okay, gaming.
Handheld gaming was huge with the Nintendo Game Boy, black and white screen, often had to squint, maybe got motion sick playing in the car, but groundbreaking.
Totally. And home consoles. The NES Nintendo Entertainment System. And the ritual of blowing into the cartridges.
Did that ever actually work?
Yeah.
It's one of those shared cultural memories. Who knows?
Right. And then Pogs.
Pogs, those little cardboard discs, and the heavier slammer to flip them. The game itself seems kind of simple now, but it was huge for a while.
The source even mentions Pog Gym days and someone getting a specific haircut for Pogs. That's dedication.
That anecdote is brilliant. It really shows the craze. And this whole section highlights how culture shapes shared experiences and references. It might even make you think, what was popular in your country in the 90s?
Good point. It's a reminder that understanding these cultural bits can enrich your understanding of English media and help you connect with people. Okay, let's move to our final section. Back to core communication. Conversation strategies.
Yes, making conversations work. Not just exchanging info, but really connecting, keeping the flow going smoothly.
And the first big tip, ditch the dead ends. Like that classic, almost robotic response, I'm fine, thank you, and you.
Right. It's polite, technically, but it doesn't really invite further interaction, does it? It can unintentionally shut things down.
So the advice is, give a slightly more engaging or detailed answer.
Exactly. Give the other person something to latch onto. Instead of just fine, maybe pretty good actually, just wrap it up a busy week, how about you? Opens the door for them to ask about your week or share theirs.
Okay. And a key strategy to keep it going. Always ask the other person a question back. Keep that conversational ball rolling.
Crucial, especially using open-ended questions. Who, what, where, when, why, how. Like instead of a yes, no, did you have a good weekend? Try, what did you get up to on the weekend?
Great distinction. Open-ended questions encourage much more detailed answers, which leads to the next point. asking deeper, more open-ended questions generally. Questions that invite opinions, experiences, thoughts.
Right. Our source had that funny cheese example, remember?
Yeah.
Instead of just, do you like cheese? Oh, asking what kind of cheese do you enjoy? Or what are your thoughts on blue cheese? Can lead to a much more interesting chat. Even about cheese. The point is asking questions that need more than a one-word reply.
It shows genuine interest in their perspective. Okay, what about starting conversations or finding common ground?
Using starters like, hey, did you see that thing about Taug? Or did you hear about? Bringing up current events, shared interests, something amusing as you saw. It's a natural way to see if you have a shared topic.
Good tactic. The source also suggests something simple but effective. Giving a sincere compliment. When appropriate, obviously.
Yes, a genuine compliment about something specific, their work, an idea, their outfit, can really warm up an interaction. Make the other person feel good, more open to chatting. Key word. Sincere.
Right. Insincerity can backfire. And the source warned against that automatic you too if it doesn't fit. Right.
Exactly. Be specific if you can. Things you can start applying immediately. Think of it as finding the efficiency hacks for your learning.
Ready to get into it.
Let's do it. And maybe the biggest first hurdle, the one that trips so many people up, is that habit of translating everything in your head.
Ah, yes. The mental dictionary. Our first source really digs into breaking that habit.
It's almost unconscious, isn't it? You hear English, your brain instantly flips it to your native language and then back again if you're speaking.
Right. And it adds this extra processing step every single time. It slows down your speaking, your thinking, everything.
It really bogs you down. So how do we start breaking free from that? What's the first tip?
Well, the first one is surprisingly straightforward. It's about direct association. Basically linking things in your environment directly to their English words.
So instead of seeing your keyboard, thinking the word in your language, then finding keyboard.
You just train yourself. See it, think keyboard. See the lamp, think lamp. Water bottle, immediately.
Okay, so it's building a direct pathway, visual cue straight to English word, bypassing the translation step completely.
Exactly. You're creating direct neural connections, almost like building a little English world map in your head linked to your immediate surroundings. Uses your visual memory.
I can see how that would work. Small steps, but fundamental. It's the start of actually thinking in English, rather than just about English.
Precisely. And thinking in the language, that's the game changer for fluency, isn't it?
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
Okay, direct association makes sense. What's strategy number 2?
Tip 2 is about getting a feel for the sound and rhythm of English. It's active imitation.
Imitation, like repeating what you hear.
Exactly. The source stresses repeating phrases, sentences, chunks of language you hear from native speakers, from videos, podcasts, movies, whatever.
Okay, so not just understanding the meaning, but actually saying it yourself.
Right. Copying the sounds, the pronunciation, the intonation. The source calls it the music of the language.
Ah, I like that. The music of the language. It's about getting your mouth used to making those shapes, finding that rhythm.
It's like muscle memory. But for your mouth, your tongue, your vocal cords, getting them comfortable with English sounds and how they link together.
And the point isn't perfection right away, is it? It's more about just getting comfortable with the mechanics.
Exactly that. Don't stress about sounding perfect immediately. Just practice forming the sounds, feeling the flow. It helps internalize how words connect naturally.
Okay, so we've got direct association and active imitation. What about creating an English-speaking environment? Tip 3.
Yeah, tip 3 is about immersion. Or rather, creating mini immersion experiences. Because let's face it, moving to an English-speaking country isn't an option for everyone.
Right, that's a huge step. But the idea of being surrounded by the language,
Yeah.
that's powerful.
It is. So the source suggests creating smaller zones or times where you just stick to English. No switching back to your native language allowed.
Like maybe setting a rule for yourself.
Mm.
For the next hour, only English. Or finding situations where English is the only option.
Exactly. They mentioned this story of a learner in Japan who joined a hobby group where everyone only spoke Japanese. It forced them to communicate, you know?
That element of necessity, when you have to use English to get by, to participate, your brain finds a way.
It really does. You start finding workarounds for words you don't know. You describe things that's called circumlocution.
All right, talking around the word.
Yeah. It feels awkward at first, not having that safety net of your own language, but that's where the real learning happens, taking off the training wheels, like you said.
Makes sense. Okay, let's talk about watching TV and movies. That's a common learning tool. How does tip 4 suggest using subtitles strategically?
Okay, this one's interesting. The first suggestion is maybe a bit counterintuitive. Try watching without subtitles in your own language first.
Really? No safety net at all.
Yeah.
Why?
Because it forces you to use all the clues. Body language, visuals, context, and really focus on the sound of the English being spoken. You have to listen more actively.
Instead of just reading the translation and tuning out the audio, okay, I see the logic. But what if you miss too much?
Well, that's where the next step comes in. The source recommends re-watching, but this time with English subtitles or closed captions.
Ah, okay, so you hear the English and see the English words simultaneously.
Exactly. What's the benefit there?
Well, it connects the sound to the spelling, right? Reinforces vocabulary. You start noticing patterns, how words commonly go together, collocations.
Right, it's visual reinforcement. That Japanese learner example in the source really showed how seeing the words helped lock them in.
So it's a progression. Maybe native language subs first, just to get the plot.
If you need to, yeah.
Then English subs to connect sound and text. And finally, no subs at all to really push your listening skills.
That's a really smart, layered approach. Using subtitles as a tool, not just a crutch. Okay, now, the dictionary. Every learner has one. Tip 5 says, maybe don't use it during a conversation.
Yeah, that sounds weird at first, doesn't it? If you don't know a word, why wouldn't you look it up?
The main reason is flow. Imagine you're talking, you hit a word you don't know, you stop, pull out your phone or dictionary.
The whole conversation just grinds to a halt. It breaks the rhythm. Feels totally unnatural.
Exactly. The source uses that bank account example. You can't realistically pause the clerk every minute to look up interest rate, right? It'd be awkward and super inefficient.
Totally impractical. So if you can't look it up mid-flow, what do?
You develop other strategies. Try describing the word using the English you do know.
Like, it's the thing you used to.
Yeah. Or just ask your partner, what's the word for? Or how do you say?
Okay, so it keeps the conversation moving and forces you to be resourceful in English.
Right. And often when someone explains a word to you in that context, you remember it much better anyway. The interaction makes it stick.
Good point. Okay, so be resourceful, keep the flow. Let's talk about making responses quicker, more automatic. Tip 6.
This focuses on common exchanges, like, how are you? Great at. It seems basic, but having smooth, natural responses ready makes a big difference.
Instead of that slight pause while you mentally translate or construct, I am fine, thank you, and you, which can sound a bit robotic.
Exactly. That little hesitation can make the start of an interaction feel stiff. Having a few natural options ready, pretty good, thanks, or doing well, how about yourself, or even not bad, busy week, just smooths things out.
It's like having a quick starter pack for conversations. Frees up brain power for the actual topic.
Totally. Okay, what about study materials? Tip 7 looks at whether they rely on translation.
Right. The advice is to try and use materials where explanations, definitions, instructions, everything is in English, even if it's simplified English.
Why is that so important?
Because it keeps you in the English zone. You're not constantly code switching back to your native language. It reinforces thinking in English.
So things like graded readers or apps that define words using simpler English.
Exactly. The key, though, is finding stuff at the right level. Challenging, but not so hard. It's just frustrating. You want that sweet spot.
Makes sense. Keep the learning environment as English-centric as possible. Now, vocabulary learning. Tip 8 says, learn phrases, not just single words. Why?
Because words rarely live alone. Their meaning, their nuance, it all depends on the context of the words around them.
Ah, like the example with crazy.
Exactly. Crazy busy is totally different from crazy about you or driving me crazy.
Knowing just the dictionary definition of crazy doesn't really help you use it correctly in those situations.
Right. You need the whole chunk. Learning crazy busy as a single unit tells you how to express being extremely occupied. It's about understanding usage, not just definition.
It gives you a feel for how words naturally partner up collocations. Makes your speaking sound much more natural, much faster. Okay, tip 9. Bringing English into daily life.
Yeah. This is about actively trying to narrate or just think about your everyday actions in English.
Like mentally saying, okay, I'm making coffee now, or I need to check my email.
Exactly. Or walking to the bus stop. As you do this, you'll naturally find gaps. Wait, what's the English word for this thing I'm doing?
Ah, so it helps you identify vocabulary that's actually relevant to your life, right there in context.
Precisely. Learning words because you actually need them in that moment makes them stick so much better. Turns mundane stuff into learning ops.
I like that. Okay, and the last tip on breaking translation, number 10, is about the type of dictionary to use when you do need one.
Right. It recommends using a learner's dictionary. specifically mentioning Merriam-Webster's or Oxford's learner versions.
And what makes a learner's dictionary different?
The definitions. They're written using simpler, more common English words that learners are likely to already know or understand easily.
So you're not swapping one unknown word for 3 more unknown words in the definition?
Exactly. You stay within the English framework. Plus, they usually have tons of example sentences showing how the word is actually used in context. Super helpful for usage.
Got it. So even your dictionary choice can reinforce thinking in English. Okay, that's a really solid set of strategies for tackling that core translation habit. Whew. Now let's shift gears a bit. Greetings. Seems simple, but...
There's more to it than just hello, right? Our next source dives into the nuances. How you greet someone really depends on the situation.
Definitely. Let's start with the more formal ones, the time of day greetings.
Right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Polite, standard, but you got to get the time right. Saying good morning at night just sounds off.
Very off. Then you have the all-rounders, hello and hi.
Can't really go wrong with those, can you? Hello is maybe a touch more formal than hi, but both are pretty safe in most situations. Friendly, approachable.
Okay, what if you bump into someone you haven't seen for ages?
That's when you pull out long time no see, or maybe, hey, how have you been?
Right, acknowledging that gap in time. How have you been? That present perfect tense signals you're asking about, that whole period since you last saw them, invites them to catch up.
Exactly. Okay, standard, everyday, casual greetings.
How are you? Super common. And slightly more casual, according to the source, is how's it going?
So how's it going? Might be better for friends or colleagues you know fairly well. A bit more relaxed.
Yeah, generally. It has a slightly more informal vibe. And even more informal is, what's up? Often used by younger people or between close friends, sometimes shortened to just sup.
Okay. And meeting someone new. First introductions.
The standard polite phrase is, it's nice to meet you. Often comes with a handshake or a nod, depending on the culture.
Good point about the nonverbal part, too. So the big takeaway is context is king.
Absolutely. Who are you talking to? What's the setting? Formal meeting? Casual chat? Your choice of greetings signals your understanding of those social cues. It matters.
Okay, let's see some of this in action. The force gives examples from real life, like travel and university.
Yeah, these snippets are great because they show the language being used for actual tasks. Like understanding flight info. 25 cities in 30 days. Whoa, okay, that tells you it's a whirlwind trip. You need to grasp that quickly.
Or ordering room service. Turkey sandwich on a Parmesan bagel. Diet Coke. You need to be specific. And asking for a 7 a.m. wake-up call. Simple but essential travel communication.
And the hotel staff confirming name, room number, Mrs. Rawson 417. Basic details, but you need to understand and provide them correctly. Then there's another check-in example, more about the admin side.
Right, confirming the reservation name, Melissa West. Showing ID, passport or ID card. Understanding checkout times. Noon to 2 p.m., but maybe a free extension. Watch out for that late charge.
Exactly. Reading the fine print, basically. Understanding those policies to avoid problems. Okay, switching to university life. Students talking majors.
Education versus English, and planning to study together because Oksana is also an English major. Just typical student chat, finding common ground.
Then there's the missed study date scenario. Someone's late.
Sorry I'm late. Gotta apologize. The reason. Talking to a professor about an extension, plus still have a midterm. Very relatable student stress.
Totally. And then rescheduling. See you later. See ya. Casual goodbyes. Shows how you handle those little scheduling bumps.
And one more academic one. Asking for help.
Right. Someone struggling with a paper, offers a trade. I'll help you with history if you help me with this paper. Shows collaboration, negotiation, explaining your needs.
These little dialogues are so useful for seeing how phrases fit together naturally. Okay, now for something a bit trickier. Informal language, slang, maybe even mild cursing.
Yeah, this source tackles that. And the big preface here is this is primarily for understanding, not necessarily for using. You need to be really careful.
Absolutely. You'll hear this stuff in movies, maybe casual conversation, but using it yourself without fully grasping the nuance, the audience, the context, it can go wrong easily. When in doubt, don't use it.
Agreed. So with that major caveat, let's look at piss.
Right. The idiom "don't piss your pants" doesn't mean literally. It means don't get super scared or anxious.
Right. It's about extreme nerves. And then pissed off just means angry or annoyed. Pretty common informal term.
Okay. Then loser. The source calls it high school slang for someone uncool. It's definitely negative, not something to throw around lightly.
No. Idiot is similar. A mild insult meaning foolish or lacking intelligence. Still an insult, though.
Shoot, that's described as a softer way to express frustration, right? Like instead of a stronger swear word.
Yeah, like, oh, shoot, I missed my bus. Mild annoyance.
Shut up. This one's all about tone, isn't it?
Totally. Can be a rude command. Be quiet. Or said with surprise, it means no way. Or are you serious? Tone is everything.
Ticked off. Another one for angry or annoyed.
Mm.
Maybe sounds a little dated compared to pissed off.
Possibly, yeah. Less common now, maybe. Fool, for someone acting silly, not taking things seriously.
And jerk. A common mild insult for someone being mean or inconsiderate.
Right. Selfish, rude behavior, not super harsh, but definitely critical. And finally, wimp.
For someone not strong or brave. Like the Diary of a Wimpy Kid reference helps lock that meaning in. Lacking courage.
Exactly. So, again, key takeaway. Recognize these for comprehension, but be super cautious about using them yourself. Know your audience, know the context. Okay, moving to something much more practical and essential, directions.
Yes. Fundamental survival skill.
Yeah.
Asking for and giving directions clearly. Our source has key phrases for asking.
Like the basics, where's the, or how do I get to the?
And adding politeness.
Well,
Excuse me, do you know where the post office is? That, excuse me, is important.
Definitely. And checking distance, is the museum near here? Or is it far from here? Simple, but crucial.
And for giving directions.
Key commands, turn left, turn right, maybe adding specifics, turn left at the traffic light.
Go straight. Go past a landmark, like go past the big church. Using landmarks is super helpful.
Very helpful. And locating things relative to other things. It's at the corner of Main Street and L Avenue, or using prepositions in front of, behind, next to, between.
Clarity is key here. Clear landmarks, simple instructions, essential stuff. Okay, another universal experience. Complaining.
Ah, yes. We all do it. Knowing how to express dissatisfaction appropriately in English is definitely a skill. The source lists common ones.
Starting with hunger. I'm starving. Usually an exaggeration, just means very hungry.
Right. Noise. It's noisy. Simple, direct.
Temperature complaints. It's too hot, it's too cold. Often implies you want something done about it, right?
Usually, yeah.
Yeah.
Could lead to, can we turn the heating down? Cost. It's too expensive. Needs careful handling depending on who you're saying it to, but expresses high price.
Tiredness. I'm tired. Pretty straightforward.
Weight. I gain weight. Often said self-critically among friends, family.
Money woes. I'm always broke. Again, often hyperholic, meaning low on funds.
Job dissatisfaction. My job is boring. Lack of stimulation.
Unpleasant smells. That person stinks. Very direct. Potentially rude. Not usually said openly.
Definitely not. Traffic. There's too much traffic. The classic commuter gripe.
Modern life complaints. The Wi-Fi here is too slow. Hear that one a lot.
We do. Boss issues. My boss is annoying. Work frustration.
Pay problems. The pay is too low. Salary complaints.
And the catch-all, I don't like it. Simple. Direct disapproval for almost anything.
Understanding these helps you express yourself, but also understand when others are unhappy. Good for empathy. Okay, let's switch back to practical info train stations.
Right. Focusing on understanding written information in these busy places. Signs, tickets, schedules, vital for getting around.
Like reading a customer code from a text message, or your actual train ticket. Car 1, row 8, seat C. Gotta find your spot.
Using a ticket machine, maybe noticing bottom left button for express tickets. Small details matter.
Reading platform signs. The next train will not stop at. Uh-oh, crucial info. Don't want to be on that train if it's your stop.
Exactly. Or checking printed schedules. No express trains on holidays or the third Sunday. Need to know these exceptions for planning.
And just finding your way around the station. Taxi stop, east exit. Yeah. Following the signs. It's all about pulling key info from written text quickly and accurately.
Super important skill. Okay, now for a total change of pace. A little trip back in time. Things that were cool in the 90s.
Yeah, a fun cultural detour. Why is this relevant for learners?
Well, understanding cultural references helps you get jokes, understand older movies or shows, and connect with people who grew up then. It adds richness.
Makes sense. So what did the source highlight? Boy bands.
Remember them. Maybe seen as a bit uncool by some then, but the source notes, they came back. Like with One Direction, trends are cyclical.
Okay. Kids TV, Doug on Nickelodeon.
Yeah. Relatable character, often positive messages, a real 90s kids touchstone.
And sitcoms like Full House, Step by Step. Family shows, usually a moral lesson, often that upbeat theme music.
Yeah.
Very 90s vibe.
Definitely. Okay, visual culture. Lisa Frank.
Whoa, yes. The super bright colors, unicorns, dolphins, folders, stickers, instantly recognizable 90s aesthetic, especially for girls.
Totally iconic. Then, the opposite vibe, grunge.
Nirvana, Pearl Jam, that whole Seattle scene, ripped jeans, plaid shirts, kind of anti-fashion fashion, a huge cultural shift from the 80s.
Good time. And accessories, scrunchies.
Can't forget scrunchies, those fabric hair ties, quintessential 90s.
Absolutely. Okay, gaming. The Nintendo Game Boy.
Groundbreaking. Black and white screen maybe made you a bit carsick.
Yeah.
But portable gaming was born.
And home consoles. The NES, Nintendo Entertainment System.
Yeah.
And that ritual.
Blowing into the cartridges. Did it actually work? Who knows? But everyone did it.
Shared cultural memory. And Pogs.
Oh my gosh, Pogs, the cardboard discs, the slammers. It was huge for a while. The source mentioning Pog gym days and special haircuts for Pogs, that's dedication.
That anecdote is brilliant. It just shows how these cultural moments shape us, and knowing about them can be a great conversation starter, or help you understand references. Makes you think about what was big in your own culture back then, too.
Good point. Okay, fascinating detour.
Yeah.
Let's bring it back to communication essentials for our final section. Conversation strategies.
Right. How to make conversations actually work. Go beyond just exchanging facts and really connect.
First big tip.
Yeah.
Ditch the dead-end responses. Like that standard, I'm fine, thank you, and you.
It's polite, sure, but it often just stops the conversation cold, doesn't invite anything further.
So the advice is to give a slightly more detailed or engaging answer. Something the other person can respond to.
Exactly. Instead of just, fine, maybe, pretty good, thanks, just gearing up for the weekend, how about you? Gives them something to grab onto.
And crucially, always ask a question back. Keep that conversational tennis match going.
Right. Keep the ball in their court.
Yeah.
Especially using open-ended questions, the we questions. Who, what, where, when, why, how.
So instead of, did you have a good weekend? Which can be answered yes or no.
Ask, what did you get up to on the weekend? Invites a story, not just a one-word answer.
That leads to the next point. Ask deeper, more open questions generally. Get opinions, experiences.
Like that funny cheese example from the source. Not just, do you like cheese, but what kind of cheese do you like? Or what do you think about blue cheese? Gets a real discussion going, even about cheese.
Yeah, the principle is ask questions that need more than yes or no. Shows you're actually interested.
Exactly. Another good tactic. Conversation starters. Hey, did you see that article about? Or did you hear about?
A way to bring up current events or shared interests. See if there's common ground to explore.
Yeah, it's a natural way to kick things off or find a new topic. And another simple but effective one, sincere compliments.
When appropriate, of course. A genuine compliment about something specific, their idea, their work, even their cool shoes, can really warm things up.
Keyword, genuine. Fake compliments can backfire. Be specific if you can. Avoid that automatic you too if it doesn't make sense.
Good point. And finally, to build real connection, don't be afraid to share a little yourself.
Right. Appropriately, of course. But mentioning something about your weekend, a project, an experience, it encourages the other person to share, too. Builds rapport. Moves beyond surface chat.
It shows a bit of vulnerability, invites reciprocity, and one last simple tip to keep it balanced.
Keep asking, what about you? Or, how about you?
Watch with no subtitles at all.
Right. Relying purely on listening.
Yes. And also on the visuals, the body language, the context of the scene. You have to listen much more intently when you don't have the text to fall back on.
You're really training your ear, picking up on nuances, tone, delivery.
Precisely. It significantly boosts your listening comprehension over time. So it's a strategic progression. Maybe native subs briefly for plot, then English subs to connect sound and text, then no subs to really hone your listening.
That's a really clear pathway. Use English subs as a bridge, then take the training wheels off.
Got it. Now, shifting gears slightly,
Yeah.
Dictionaries. Every learner uses them, right?
Absolutely. They seem essential, but
Yeah.
tip number 5 offers a pretty interesting suggestion.
Uh-oh. What is it? Try not to rely on your dictionary constantly, especially during a conversation or a lesson focused on speaking.
Really? But what if I don't know a word? Isn't it helpful to quickly look it up?
It seems helpful, but the source argues it can really disrupt the natural flow of a conversation. Imagine you're talking, you hit a word you don't know, and everything just stops while you grab your phone or dictionary.
Yeah, the momentum is totally lost. It feels awkward, unnatural, not how real conversations work.
Exactly. Think about trying to do something practical, like opening a bank account and constantly pausing to look up interest rate or withdrawal. It would be pretty inefficient and frustrating for everyone.
Okay, point taken. So what's the alternative then? if I'm stuck mid-conversation.
Develop other strategies. Try describing the word you're looking for using the English you do know. Explain the concept.
Or,
Or just ask your conversation partner. Sorry, what's the word for? Or how do you say?
so it's about using communication strategies within the conversation itself, not stopping it to use an external tool.
Precisely. It encourages resourcefulness, keeps the conversation moving. Plus, when someone explains a word to you in context, you're often more likely to remember it because of that interaction.
That makes a lot of sense. Be resourceful. Keep the flow going.
Hmm.
Okay, moving on. Conversational fluency, specifically those initial responses.
Yes. Tip number 6. Train your automatic responses to common questions, like the classic, how are you?
Yeah. We need something better than just freezing or translating. Exactly. That little pause while you translate, how are you? And then translate your answer back. It takes time and makes the start feel a bit stilted.
So having a few quick, natural responses ready to go.
Yes. Things like, pretty good, thanks, or doing well, how about you? Or even, not bad, keeping busy. Just something that rolls off the tongue easily.
Okay, prepare a couple of standard answers related to your day or maybe weekend plans.
Exactly. The source suggests that. Having those initial pleasantries down frees up your brain power for the more important parts of the conversation that come next. Right, you're not getting bogged down right at the start. Smooth entry. Okay. What up? Study materials. Textbooks. Apps.
Tip 7 advises using materials where the explanations and definitions are in English.
So, English-only resources, or maybe simplified English.
Yes,
Yeah.
ideally. Or at least resources where the explanations aren't just translations into your native language. Think textbooks designed for learners, apps with English definitions, graded readers.
Why is that so important?
Because it forces you to work within English, to understand new concepts. You're not constantly switching back and forth, reinforcing that translation habit. You're staying in the English zone.
Okay, reinforcing thinking in English again?
Exactly. Of course, the key is finding materials at the right level challenging, but not so difficult that you just get frustrated and give up. That's crucial.
Makes sense. Find that sweet spot. Now, tip number 8 is about how we learn vocabulary. This sounds important.
It really is. The advice is study phrases and chunks of language, not just isolated single words.
Right, because words don't exist in a vacuum, do they?
Not at all. The meaning and how you use a word depends so much on the other words around it, the context.
The source used the example crazy, didn't it?
Yes. Think about it. Crazy good, driving me crazy, crazy about someone. The meaning of crazy shifts in each phrase.
Yeah, just knowing the dictionary definition of crazy doesn't tell you how to use it naturally in those different ways.
Exactly. Learning the whole the collocation, the natural word pairing, gives you a much better feel for how the word actually works in real communication.
So when you learn a new word, try to learn it as part of a phrase it commonly appears in.
Precisely. It gives you a richer, more practical understanding, meaning, usage, maybe even some cultural nuance. It sticks better.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. Learn words in chunks. Tip number 9 sounds very practical. Narrate your daily life.
Yeah, just in your head.
Yeah.
As you go about your day, making coffee, commuting, cooking dinner, try mentally describing what you're doing in English.
Like, okay, now I'm chopping the onions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Simple stuff. I'm waiting for the bus. I need to send this email.
How does that help break the translation habit?
Well, as you do it, you'll inevitably run into gaps. You'll realize, oh, I don't know the English word for colander, or what's the verb for to rinse?
So it highlights the vocabulary you actually need for your real life.
Yes, in a very natural context. And learning words because you need them right then and there helps you remember them much better than just memorizing lists.
It turns everyday routines into mini lessons. I like that. Very efficient. Okay, and the last tip in this section, number 10.
It brings us back to dictionaries, but a specific kind. When you do need to look up a word, try using a learner's dictionary.
A learner's dictionary, like the Merriam-Webster's or Oxford ones mentioned, what's different about them?
They're designed specifically for English learners. The key difference is that the definitions are written using simpler, more common English words.
Okay, so you're not looking up a complex word only to find a definition full of other complex words you don't know.
Exactly. You're understanding the new word through English you likely already know or can figure out easily.
So you're staying within English even while looking things up, no escaping back to your native language.
Right. It reinforces thinking in English. Plus, they usually have really good, clear example sentences showing exactly how the word is used in context. Very helpful.
Okay, that's a fantastic set of 10 strategies. And the common thread seems to be active engagement, right? Really pushing yourself to operate in English as much as possible.
That's the core message. Breaking the translation habit requires conscious, active effort. Okay, so we've tackled thinking in English. Now let's move to something seemingly basic but crucial for smooth interactions. Greetings. Saying hello.
Right. You'd think hello is simple, but our next source digs into 10 ways to say hello in English, and it highlights the nuances, doesn't it?
It really does. Using varied greetings makes you sound more natural, more aware of the social context. It's not just about the words.
Okay, so let's break it down. The source starts with the more formal, time-dependent ones.
Yes. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Pretty straightforward, but you've got to get the time of day right. Saying good morning at 6 p.m. is, well, a bit weird.
Definitely marks you out a bit. Okay, then the all-rounders.
Hello and hi. Hello is incredibly versatile, formal, informal, pretty much any situation. Hi is super common. Generally polite, maybe slightly less formal than hello.
You really can't go too wrong with either of those in most everyday situations. What about seeing someone after a gap?
That's where specific phrases come in. Long time no see is classic.
But only if it has been a long time, right? Not if you saw them yesterday.
Exactly. It implies a significant gap, and it's often paired with something like, how have you been?
Right, using that present perfect tense looking back over the time since you last met.
Precisely. It acknowledges the time lapse and invites them to catch up. Okay, more standard, maybe slightly informal greetings.
How are you? The absolute classic. Very common, generally polite.
And how's it going? The source says this is a bit more casual.
Yeah, how's it going? Feels a little more relaxed, maybe better for friends, colleagues you know well, whereas how are you works in a wider range, even slightly more formal settings.
Okay. And even more casual.
What's up? Very informal, definitely for friends, people you're close to. Maybe more common among younger speakers, too.
Got it. And the crucial one for first meetings.
It's nice to meet you. Or just nice to meet you. Polite,
Yeah.
standard, and the source mentions it's often accompanied by.
A handshake in many Western cultures. Or at least a nod. Good point to remember the nonverbal aspect, too.
Absolutely. So the main takeaway with greetings is context is everything.
Totally. Who are you talking to? What's the situation?
Yeah.
Your relationship matters. Paying attention to these social cues shows a deeper understanding of English than just knowing the vocabulary.
Makes perfect sense. Even saying hello has layers.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to seeing English used in actual everyday situations. Our next source gives us some real-world snippets, right? Travel, academic life.
Yeah, these are so valuable because they show the language in action. It helps bridge that gap between textbook rules and actually using English to get things done.
Okay, first up, travel scenarios. Understanding flight info, maybe.
Yeah, or like an itinerary that says 25 cities in 30 days. That immediately tells you it's a whirlwind tour, right? You process the numbers, get the pace.
Or hotel interactions, ordering room service.
Turkey sandwich on a Parmesan bagel, Diet Coke. Getting the specifics right is key.
And requesting a wake-up call. 7 a.m., please, followed by the confirmation.
Name, room number, Mrs. Rosen, 417. Got it. Basic but essential stuff for travel.
Definitely. Then there was another hotel check-in example, more about the admin side.
Right. Confirming the reservation, Melissa West. The request for ID.
Photo ID or passport, please.
And explaining policies. Checkout is noon to 2 p.m. standard. Maybe a 5-hour free extension.
But a 5% late charge after that. You really need to catch those details to avoid surprises.
Absolutely. Okay. Shifting to academic settings. Students talking about their studies.
Yeah, my major is education. Oh, cool. Mine's English. Axana is also an English major. We should study together. Just natural, everyday campus chat.
Exactly. Then the scenario where someone's late for a study date.
Oh, right. Sorry, I'm late. The excuse. Was talking to my professor about getting an extension.
Still got that midterm coming up. Relatable student stress.
Totally. And then rescheduling. Okay, see you later. See you.
Simple, informal goodbyes. Shows how you handle those little hiccups.
And the last academic one, asking for study help.
Yeah, the negotiation. I'm struggling with this paper. If you help me, I'll help you study for your history test.
It shows that give and take, offering something in return. Very common in collaborative environments like uni.
These dialogues are great because you see how words fit together, the natural flow. You learned implicitly just by observing. Okay, now for something a bit different. informal language, slang, maybe even some trickier stuff.
Yes, our next source tackles this. Understanding informal English, including some mild curse words or insults. But first, a huge caveat is needed here. Absolutely. The goal is comprehension, right? Understanding what you might hear, especially in media or very casual chat. Not necessarily about using these yourself.
Crucially important. You need to be extremely careful with usage. Context, relationship, potential impact if you're unsure, just don't use them. Politeness first. Always avoid causing offense.
Okay, big warning label attached. Let's look at the examples. The word piss.
Right. The source mentions don't piss your pants, meaning extreme fear or anxiety. It's idiomatic, not literal.
Just means being really scared or nervous and then pissed off.
That's a pretty common informal way to say angry or annoyed, widely understood, though still informal.
Okay. Then loser, described as high school slang.
Yeah, for someone considered uncool or unsuccessful, carries a negative, maybe slightly immature vibe. Not for polite company usually. Context is key.
Then idiot. Mild insult, implying foolishness or lack of intelligence. Still an insult, though.
Handle with care, then shoot. This is used as a substitute for something stronger.
Right, when you're mildly frustrated or make a small mistake. Oh, shoot, I forgot my wallet. Expresses annoyance without being offensive.
Got it. Now, shut up. This one's tricky because of tone.
Hugely dependent on tone. Angry tone. It's a rude command. Be quiet. Surprise tone means no way, or really.
Tone is absolutely everything for that one. Okay, ticked off.
Another way to say angry or annoyed, the source suggests it might sound a little dated compared to pissed off now, perhaps.
Interesting. Then fool, implying someone's acting silly like a clown.
Yeah, suggesting foolish or ridiculous behavior, not taking things seriously.
And jerk, a light insult for someone mean or inconsiderate.
Right, someone acting selfishly or rudely. Fairly common, not super harsh.
And finally, wimp, for someone not strong or brave.
Yeah, implies lack of courage or toughness. The source even referenced Diary of a Wimpy Kid.
Good reference point. So again, understand these when you hear them, but be incredibly cautious about using them yourself, unless you are 100% sure of the context and your audience. It's mostly about passive understanding.
Definitely. Okay, moving to a much more practical, universal skill. Directions. Asking for and giving them.
Oh yeah, essential for navigating anywhere independently in English. Our next source covers this well. Key questions for asking.
Things like, excuse me, where's the nearest post office? Or how do I get to the train station?
Using excuse me first is always polite when approaching a stranger. What else?
Do you know where the museum is? And checking distance? Is the library near here? Or is the supermarket far from here?
Good basic questions. And for giving directions, the core phrases.
Turn left, turn right. Maybe adding specifics like turn left at the traffic lights or turn right after the big blue building.
In going straight.
Go straight ahead or keep going straight. Also, go past a landmark. Go past the park on your left.
And describing the location itself.
Using corners. It's at the corner of Main Street and Elm Avenue, and prepositions. It's in front of the bank, it's behind the supermarket, it's next to the cafe, it's between the pharmacy and the bookstore.
Using landmarks and being clear is key. Knowing these basics really boosts confidence when you're trying to find your way.
Absolutely. Okay, next up. Something we all do. Expressing dissatisfaction. Making complaints.
Ah, yes. Another necessary communication skill, even if it's not always pleasant. Knowing how to complain politely, or understand when others are complaining, our source lists quite a few common ones.
Let's start with hunger. I'm starving.
Classic hyperbole just means very hungry. Then, environment complaints.
It's noisy in here. Simple, direct. About the sound level bothering you.
And temperature, always a popular one.
It's too hot or it's too cold. These often lead into a request, don't they? Can we turn on the fan? Could you close the window?
Often, yeah. Then cost. It's too expensive. Need to be a bit careful with this one, depending on who you're saying it to.
Could be seen as rude if said directly to a seller in some contexts. It's more an expression of personal feeling about the price.
Good point. Tact is needed. Physical state complaints.
I'm tired. Pretty universal means you need rest. And I gained weight. Often said self-critically, maybe to friends.
Right. And money woes. I'm always broke.
Usually an exaggeration, meaning you don't have much spare cash. Often said lightly.
Okay. Work complaints. My job is boring.
Expressing lack of engagement or stimulation than a more direct personal one. That person stinks.
Ooh, that's blunt. Very direct comment on body odor. Probably rude to say out loud about someone present.
Definitely handle with extreme care, or
Yeah.
just don't say it. Then common urban gripe.
There's too much traffic, especially during rush hour. And the modern classic, the Wi-Fi here is too slow.
Oh, the pain. So relatable. Complaints about people at work.
My boss is annoying.
Hmm.
Another common one, expressing frustration with the supervisor. And about money again. The pay is too low.
Dissatisfaction with salary. Pretty clear. And the ultimate catch-all.
I don't like it. Simple, direct, can apply to almost anything.
Understanding these helps you express yourself, but also helps you understand and empathize when others are complaining so you can respond appropriately. Okay, shifting gears again. Practical information, like at a train station.
Yes, this is about understanding signs, announcements, tickets crucial for travel using public transport. Our source gives examples.
Like understanding a text message with your booking code.
Or reading your actual ticket. Car 1, row 8, seat C. You need to find the right place.
Using a ticket machine, maybe understanding express tickets bottom left button.
Right. And listening to announcements. The next train to Oxford will not stop at Reading. Vital info.
Reading schedules too, noticing things like no express trains on public holidays or on the third Sunday of the month.
Exactly. And just navigating the station itself, following signs for the taxi stop or the east exit.
It's all about extracting key info from written text and spoken announcements in those busy, practical environments. Super important skill for independence. Okay, now for something completely different. A little cultural time travel.
Ah, yes, the 1990s. Our next source gives us a glimpse into things that were cool back then. This is fun, but also useful for understanding cultural references.
Okay, kick us off. Pop culture.
Boy bands. Remember them.
Hmm.
The source notes they were maybe seen as uncool by some then, but they had a huge comeback later. Shows how trends cycle.
True. What about TV?
Kids TV. Doug
Hmm.
on Nickelodeon. Remember Doug Funny? Relatable kid, positive messages, a real touchstone.
And those family sitcoms. Full House. Step by Step.
Yeah, often with a moral lesson, very family-oriented, specific kind of heartwarming vibe and music. Then moving into aesthetics. Lisa Frank.
Oh, wow. The explosion of rainbows and unicorns, folders, pencils, stickers, that super bright, instantly recognizable style, huge in the 90s.
Totally iconic. Then a big shift. Grunge music.
Nirvana, Pearl Jam, the whole Seattle sound, very different from the 80s glam.
And the fashion that went with it. Ripped jeans, plaid flannel shirts, boots, kind of anti-fashion, more subdued colors, a major movement.
And speaking of fashion accessories, scrunchies.
Cannot forget scrunchies. Those fabric-covered hair ties. Ubiquitous.
Really were everywhere.
Okay, gaming.
Handheld revolution, the Nintendo Game Boy. Black and white screen, maybe slightly blurry.
Had to squint sometimes. Maybe got car sick playing it. But groundbreaking for portable gaming.
Absolutely. And home consoles. The NES, Nintendo Entertainment System, remember blowing into the cartridges?
Ah, the universal fix. Did it actually work? Who knows? But everyone did it. Shared 90s kid memory.
Totally. And then Pogs.
Pogs, those little cardboard discs. And the heavier slammers to flip them? Seems so simple now, but it was a massive craze.
The source even mentions Pog gym days and someone getting a specific haircut for their Pogs. That's dedication.
That's amazing. And the source ends by asking you, the listener, what you were into then. A nice way to connect it back. Thinking of your own 90s can help understand references. Okay, final section. Back to core communication, conversation strategies.
Yes, how to make conversations actually flow well. Go beyond just basics, really connect. First, big tip. Ditch the dead ends. Like the robotic, I'm fine, thank you, and you. Response to how are you?
Exactly. It's polite, but it often just stops the conversation cold, doesn't invite anything more.
So the advice is to give a slightly more detailed or engaging answer.
Yeah. Give the other person something to respond to. Instead of just, fine, maybe pretty good, actually, just gearing up for the weekend. How about yourself?
Opens the door for them to ask about your plans or share theirs. Makes it more interactive.
Exactly. And the next crucial strategy, always be proactive.
Ask a question back, right? Keep the ball rolling.
Yes, especially open-ended questions, the what questions.
Hmm.
Who, what, where, when, why, how.
Hmm.
Instead of, did you have a good weekend? Try it. What did you get up to on the weekend?
Encourages more than a yes-no. Leads to more detail. Makes sense.
And building on that, ask deeper open-ended questions generally, ones that invite opinions, experiences.
The source had that funny cheese example.
Right. Instead of, do you like cheese? Maybe, what kind of cheese do you like? Or what do you think about blue cheese? Even simple topics can spark more discussion with open questions.
It's about getting people to elaborate. Another tactic mentioned, using conversation starters.
Yeah, like, hey, did you see that article about, or did you hear what happened with? Great for finding common ground, current events, shared interests, something funny, very natural way to kick things off.
Okay. And something simple but effective.
Give a sincere compliment. Appropriately, of course.
Yeah, a genuine comment on something specific. I really liked your presentation, or that's a great scarf, can really warm things up. Keyword, sincere.
Definitely. The source warned about that automatic "you too," if it doesn't make sense. Insincerity can backfire. Be genuine, be specific if possible.
Got it. And to deepen the connection.
Don't be afraid to open up a little yourself. Share something appropriate about your weekend, a project, an experience. It encourages reciprocity.
Shows you're willing to share too, builds rapport, helps move beyond just surface chat.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Shows a bit of vulnerability, invites more meaningful connection. These are all really practical ways to make conversations more engaging, more rewarding.
And honestly, just more enjoyable for everyone involved.
Absolutely. It might take conscious effort at first, applying these strategies, but it really pays off in confidence and connection.
Definitely. So as we start to wrap this up, it's really clear, isn't it? Becoming fluent and confident isn't about just one magic bullet.
Not at all. It's a blend of things. Shifting your mindset away from constant translation.
Actively using effective learning techniques.
Understanding the cultural context.
And crucially, consistently practicing those real-world communication skills we've talked about.
We've covered a lot today. From those core learning tips like imitation and mini immersion, through navigating daily life, understanding informal language, and right up to those vital conversation strategies.
And the common thread running through it all seems to be active engagement.
That's it, exactly. You have to actively use the language, not just passively study it. Make a conscious effort to try these ideas out, even if it feels a bit awkward or challenging initially.
That's where the growth happens, right? Outside the comfort zone.
Precisely. Every time you push yourself to think directly in English or describe a word instead of looking it up, or ask an open-ended question, that's progress. Be consistent.
Okay, so here's something for you, our listener, to chew on as we finish this deep dive. Think about everything we've discussed. Which one technique or idea really stood out to you?
Yeah, what's one specific thing that made you think, I could actually try that, maybe starting tomorrow or even later today?
And just consider this. How might focusing consciously on that one strategy? Maybe it's narrating your commute in English for 10 minutes, or using a learner's dictionary for a week, or making sure you ask, what about you, in your next chat? How might that small, deliberate effort start to unlock bigger breakthroughs for you?
Breakthroughs in fluency, yes, but maybe even more importantly, in your overall comfort level and confidence using English.
We really encourage you, pick one thing and give it a go.
And hey, we genuinely love to hear how it goes. If you try something out, feel free to share your experience. Or if any other questions popped up for you during our chat today, let us know.
The main thing is, keep practicing, keep engaging. You've got this.